What happened to the television and film industry? Here's a crash course. First, Netflix released its subscriber-based streaming platform, which started to gain traction in the 2010s. With the popularity of video on demand already in place, audiences really enjoyed a la carte television, and Netflix was cheap at maybe about $6.99 a month. So that's when cord cutting began and people started dropping their cable packages. Of course, where there's money to be made, other networks quickly took notice of Netflix's model and decided that they want to adapt their own streaming platforms and started copying it. But these new streaming platforms also had to lure their audience members. So they started making amazing content so they could bring audiences in to watch their programming. And all this new programming costs a lot of money, but Wall Street is like, yeah, it's a new model, do it. So these new subscription models started getting full investments. Then somebody ate a bat in Wuhan, but suddenly everybody's now stuck at home watching TV. Carol Baskin. The subscription-based model went warp speed, and a production frenzy followed. Hooray for Hollywood. But the other thing that was happening simultaneously is that audiences were attracted to free entertainment, like YouTube, like TikTok, like other social media. And these consumer generations, like Gen X and millennials, don't want to pay for because we're buying lattes and avocado toast, obvi. And these streaming services are starting to take notice that they're not turning over the profit that they thought they would. And their subscription models are no longer growing. It's starting to plateau. So they have to jack up their rates. It's no longer $6.99 to watch Netflix, it's now $14.99. So as these networks are starting to run out of money, they're going to start cutting costs. That just means that more things are getting slashed across the board. But these networks and streaming services still need to create programming to lure in viewers so they can watch and keep paying for their subscription. So a lot of these streamers are now adopting cost-cutting measures. They're paying their production people less, they're shortening production schedules, so all of a sudden production workers are not working as long as they typically do. And these companies are like, we don't have to do industry standards anymore since we're not broadcast networks, we're streamers. We can pay people less now. And then out of nowhere, AI busts onto the scene. And it's like, holy shit, this is some pretty impressive creative stuff that can make entertainment jobs obsolete. And when AI busts onto the scene, all of a sudden writers, editors, and everybody who works in visual effects are like, we're But all during this time, streamers are still broke, and traditional broadcast is even worse because it's on life support. The only people watching traditional broadcasts are the older generations, and they're not the consumer base, and they're not going to hang around for much longer. The writers were the first one up to the plate. They're like, all these creative changes are screwing us, and now you're talking about AI taking our jobs? We're striking. And the actors saw the same thing, and they're like, this is a whole bunch of bullshit. We're striking too. So the streamers and the networks are like, we don't really have any money to invest in programming right now. We're only going to greenlight intellectual property or the shows that have already proved themselves successful. So about 1/3 of the industry is only employed right now, and 2/3 are not. But in order to remain competitive, these streamers still need to make programming somehow. So now they're looking for other ways where they can cheaply make programming, including offshoring a lot of production to cheaper countries. We've seen the same thing happen with the auto industry. And meanwhile, so many creatives are on the sidelines, not having worked for about a year, not understanding if they need to pivot to a new industry or wait it out until the industry eventually bounces back. But no one knows what this bounce back is going to look like. And people are pretty sure that the industry is contracted on itself and is not going to reach the levels that it was at before. And with other industries which have simultaneously contracted, like tech, there are no other jobs for entertainment workers to pivot to. And that's where we are today.